Hey everybody, let's just take a moment and acknowledge the fact that it has been a hot minute since we've sat down and done this. And yeah, it's been a casual 6 months probably since my last podcast. Another seat. Nope, I think that was a false one. I always say that if there's ever a day that I don't sneeze, I'll be dead because I sneeze minimum 8 times a day. So, welcome to the Bachelor Knits podcast. Welcome to what my biannual update at this rate. But I am Alexandra Bachelor Evans. I am your host of the Bachelor Knit podcast. And it has been a long and tough fall and winter. Lots of stuff happening. I am still in my humble abode of Harrington Harbour, Quebec. My boyfriend actually came and joined me here, which was absolutely amazing. We've had such a great winter. It is still minus 10 outside with about 6 feet of snow on the ground, even though it is, April 15th today. So the winter is not anywhere close to ending, but I have a lot of knitting products to show you today. Needless to say, the 6 months since we've talked, I've made a few things. I have 2 sweaters, guys. 2 sweaters. So I'm going to give you a little bit of a life update. I'm going to show you some knitting updates. I'm going to give you a huge stash acquisition. Holy moly, did I treat myself. And let's get into it. Welcome to my podcast. I don't have any studio lights, but I have a window there, and a window there. So I'm kind of hoping that I have this 3-way natural light situation happening that will give true color. So let's figure it out. Like I said, it's been 6 months since we've sat down and done this, and those 6 months have been pretty eventful. I have been traveling way too much for work. I'd say probably in the last 3 months I've spent 15 days at my house right now. Another reason why there hasn't been so many podcasts, but I've been traveling a ton for work. I've been gone always and flying from places. So I've spent a sickening amount of time airport knitting, which I say when you want dedicated time for knitting, it's amazing. But when you just want to get home, it kind of sucks. So 2 sweaters. I have a shawl project on the go. I have 3 pairs of socks. I've written a pattern. Let's do this. It's been an awesome It's been an awesome fall and winter. I am so excited to be showing you all of these goodies today and to be back. I am drawing a lovely cup of a lovely soy latte in my little David's Tea mug. Aren't these the best? I'm so proud of this David's Tea company. They're Canadian. They come in with so many fall new additions, and for a tea coffee mug collector like I am, this is awesome. I got this for Christmas. Okay, so let's do this. First thing I want to talk about is probably the projects that I was talking about the last time we were doing this. In hindsight, I think I just had one thing on the needles. I'll have to rewash it. It's been so long. But that is my Cirrus pullover. And this white, fuzzy, mohair beauty, I say I cast off a little bit, maybe mid-November before Christmas. And I ended up wearing it actually at Christmas. And it is so luxurious. It is so fluffy. It's warm. It's free-flowing. It's a beauty. Do I think you should knit this? Yes. And cast on immediately, right now. Do it. I'm not wearing this as much as I thought that I would be wearing this. I think simply because of the color. I'm wearing makeup today, but it is pretty close to my natural skin tone anyway. And I feel sometimes it just washes me out, even though I do have dark hair. But I posted this on Instagram and kind of with a comment, I knit this darn thing and now I don't even know if it's my color. And the feedback that I got was incredible. So thank you to everybody who commented on that photo. It was such nice words. Everyone was so supportive and encouraging that I'm probably going to try and give it a second shot. I wouldn't unrivel it because when you strand with mohair, it almost felts and becomes really interlocked, which makes a gorgeous fabric. But it also is a major pain for ripping it out. Another reason is that it's kind of an awkward construction to wear underneath a jacket. And I live in like northern Canada, so you can't just wear this. But it has these like shawl sleeves that are opened up, so it's only joined there by the cuff. So it's lovely. It's a great thing to kind of throw over. I'm a huge button wearer, so this over a button down with the collar kind of peeking out looks really, really, really nice. And it's probably the most luxurious, and I'm just going like this because it's so soft, but it's probably one of the most luxurious clothing pieces that I own in my entire collection, which feels pretty good to say like, yeah, I knit it, right? But if you're thinking of knitting this, I would highly suggest it. I stranded mine, the pattern is by Shibui, or it includes Shibui. I don't remember the designer's name exactly, but I'll link it down below. Though the Shibui Silk Cloud that it's patterned with was a little bit out of my budget when I decided to make this. So I stranded it with Kid Silk Haze, and it's amazing. So though, now that I've knit it, and I definitely want to reknit it in a more wearable color. Melissa from Miss Bastry Co. was wearing one in one of her podcasts a few episodes ago in black, kind of with a nice charcoal mohair strand, and it looked incredible. So I'm either going to probably do a blue or a black if I do knit it again, and I'm definitely going to treat myself and do that one with Silk Cloud. But I'm not sure if you can see it. Of course I'm going to blow it out, but the beautiful, beautiful, beautiful texture that it gives. Sorry, my window there is probably the biggest. And I love the sheen, this very subtle sheen that the mohair and silk gives to the merino that's also in there. Yeah. Oh, I wish you could feel it. Like, there needs to be squish vision through YouTube videos. This is just spectacular. Yeah. So the next thing was merely just 2 balls of yarn the last time we spoke. And that, I had mentioned that I wanted to knit the Fireside Pullover by Jane Richmond, which is a little bit, I'd say, more of a rustic knitted pattern that I would normally just choose for myself. Though it is the perfect piece to throw over when I live here that can go under my jacket. It's perfect for the camp. It's perfect for traveling at Skidoo. Solid wool sweaters are all I wear while I'm here, with probably this underneath. Because you really want that thermal insulating layer. I'll try and insert some videos of what it's like where I'm from, but we're in the boonies up here, and there's a lot of snow. And I've done countless Skidoo trips in the middle of a snowstorm before. So this is the Fireside Pullover. Unfortunately, I finished this project about 2 weeks ago, and most of our commuting around on Skidoo has finished. But I did manage to wear it a few times, and it is an absolute dream. This pattern, I finished it for a time with my family, and everyone was like, there's no way you're going to finish that. This is probably the fastest thing I've ever knit besides a pair of socks, and it's a sweater. So if you're thinking of casting this on, I probably finished the whole pattern within a month, and I had knit the body, and that was probably the only alterations that I actually did to this pattern. But I knitted the body, and then I wore it, and I didn't like how it fit, so I frogged all of it and reknit it. So I'd say probably give yourself like 3 weeks of steady knitting, and you can turn this out no problem. So there she is. I absolutely love this thing. I'm so proud of myself for committing to it and knitting it and giving it the time that I thought that the pattern deserved. Because if you remember, this was not the color that I had shown in my last podcast. I was thinking of knitting it in this color. They look quite similar. But this is very much a true white with maybe like one single fiber of brown that runs through it. And I wasn't really sure, kind of similar to my skin tone with this. I wasn't really sure if I was going to like it or not. So I was in St. John's and I went to the most adorable little yarn store called Cast On Cast Off. And if you have the chance to go to St. John's, you have to check out Poisey Row is what it's called. And it's an old jelly bean style house in St. John's. And all different vendors have rented or have bought, I'm not quite sure the logistics of it, but a different room in the house. So you have a potter, there's a soap maker, there's a yarn store, a vintage clothing store, a gift shop, there's a tattoo parlor, there's a bunch of different things of all of these individual artisans. And I love supporting local. It's a huge thing for me. I think just coming from where I come from, and I feel like if you can buy local and support a local artisan, definitely do it. So going there and being able to support those artisans was a great pleasure of mine. So this is where I bought the yarn, and they had the number is 8016, which I believe is their beige colorway, which is the original colorway that they knit this in the Within book. I hope this is all making sense. I feel like I'm saying the same words over and over and over again. But it's beautiful. The only thing I would say that I may do is I may add a toggle button right here. The shawl collar as it is, it drapes so lovely. It comes like quite a bit down over my back, which is really warm. But if there is the instance that I want it to kind of hug my neck a little bit more, I feel like adding a toggle here would help that and help the front from falling open more. And the toggle buttons that I've been looking at are by Jewel Designs. You can buy them at Espastry Co. I'm sure you can find them online as well. That's just where I've seen them. And they are leather. And they have I should know this from my bookbinding days, but they have a screw-in post so that you're able to kind of pull apart your work, insert the post, screw it on the back. So you're not actually sewing it into your work, which means it's really easy to take it out if you have to wash it or you want to move it to another project. So for that, I really think that's going to be the next step that I do. Another thing is that I'm not entirely sure about the sleeve length. So I did two different cast-offs, as you could see. This is the one that the pattern calls for, which is just a ribbed cast-off. And I did a Turkish cast-off? I'm not sure. Anyway, I Kitchener and stitched this cast-off just to kind of see which way I like better. I like this way. My boyfriend likes this way. But the sleeve length comes to about here. And I always roll my sleeves up. Always, always. So having it this length works well if I want to push my sleeves up because there's not a lot of bulk. But when they're down, it's kind of awkward. They almost look a little bit too short. So I may take off my cast off and knit them probably for another maybe inch to 2 inches so that it comes more across the back of my hand. And the same thing for the hem. The hem right now comes about maybe just at the bottom of my buckle of my pant line. But I like a longer sweater, so I want it to come kind of mid-butt. So it's finished. Do I think it's probably the last time? Do I think it's never going to be on needles again? Probably not. Because I'm probably going to maybe adjust and modify it so that it fits better. Comments on the pattern. Super quick, super easy. Though I would say that the only modification I did was when you cast on stitches for the underarm. I believe the pattern says to cast on 5 or 8, which was way too big for my bust line. I have nothing. lifelong member of the Itty Bitty Titty Committee right here. So that would just had way too much bulk. It was kind of swimming off of me where it fit really well across the yoke. So I knit it to the hem, frogged it, and instead of casting on 5 or 8, I'm not entirely sure, I only cast on 2 stitches underneath the arms, and it hugs my body beautifully. I really, really, really enjoy it. Another thing is around the midsection here. Once you got down sew away, you were supposed to add on stitches to do some waist shaping. I have no hips, so waist shaping wasn't really necessary, and I want it to be very form-fitting around my hips. So I didn't increase any stitches, and again, it falls lovely. It's not too tight. So those were little things that I would kind of advise you if you were planning on casting them on, would be to take those measurements and see if, if your waist shape and your hip shape are maybe an inch difference, you can perhaps forego the hip shaping. Just my own little recommendations. But so I knit it with the Cascade Eco Wool in the shade beige, and it is so soft and lovely. And this thing I will probably wear forever because it's really what I know of is a total workhorse yarn. It's just gonna get better as time goes on. So this yarn is by Kumi Stoddart, and she is one of the artists in residencies at the Kitty Vitty Plantation, and it is a merino nylon alpaca mohair. Ooh, I don't remember. So it's either merino nylon, I know that for sure, and it's either alpaca or mohair, though I feel like it's a mohair blend. Anyway, it has this beautiful halo to it, which you're gonna see, but it has just the subtlest amount of fuzz. It's incredible. So these are a really special pair of socks. I don't know if I'm actually going to be able to wear them myself after, but we'll see. Oh, they're so special. So my March pair of socks have gone, I could say missing, but my boyfriend has them, and I looked everywhere for them this morning, but I can't find them. So I knit him his first pair of socks, or his first pair of hand knit socks. And he, for many, I would say probably years, was teasing me that I never made him anything. And I always would make stuff for myself, or I'd give it away, or I'd sell it. And he'd be like, but I haven't got a pair of socks yet. So for March, his birthday was in February, and for his birthday, I gave him the yarn and the needles, and was like, sorry, I promise you'll get socks eventually. So March, I finally sat down and cast them on. And it's kind of funny because we sort of met over knitting, I guess you could say. We were at I met him through university, and we were at an open, or beginning of the school year, kind of new student mixer, I don't know, barbecue at Concordia University, where I took my fibers degree. And this was my second degree, so I was older than everybody there, and it wasn't really my cup of tea, but I went because a friend was working there. And so he was also working there. It was his last year, and he saw me from across the field, and he walks over, and he was, chatting me up, and I was so bored with everything and just wasn't really feeling the vibe. And I was like, I'm leaving, like, thanks for saying hi, but this isn't my scene. I knit for fun, which was kind of my comment. And he was so taken back by that, and he was like, I love scarves. I was like, okay. He's like, can you make me a scarf? I was like, sure, I'll make you a scarf. And never expecting to see him again. And I ended up seeing him the next day and the next day after that by pretty much fluke. And I knit him a scarf. And that was 6 years ago, and that was the only thing I've ever knit him. And it was a gigantic kind of off blue color yarn, acrylic, bulky, that I bought from, where did I buy it from? Walmart. Like, it's just silly. But anyway, he loves the scarf, and he wore it pretty much religiously, and it stretched out so much that now when he stands up, he can wrap it over his neck and both ends touch the ground. Like, this thing was gigantic. But anyway, so I like to say that he was so taken aback by my knitting when we first met that I hooked him onto that, and then once he was hooked, I refused to knit him anything ever again. But the pair of socks that I have, I'll insert a picture here if I can get them, but they were a lot of fun to knit. I used, again, the Patons Croy sock yarn, because he is a boy and he is very hard on socks, so I figured that would be a nice project. And they actually, in all honesty, didn't take me that long, so I should probably knit him more socks. He's not a mitten wearer. He's not so much a hat wearer, though I could probably do that easily. And I guess the next step would be a sweater, which I don't really want to use the yarn for. So lots more socks for Marwyn. The last sock that I have to show you, I only have one finished, but it's a very exciting sock for me right now because I am taking my very first hand at designing. And I'm designing this pair of socks, kind of an ode to my 29th birthday, which is next month. And I say that out loud, and I'm like, oh my god, I'm 29 years old. And it's just exciting for me. I feel like growing up, we were always so excited to hit 18, and we were so excited to hit 21 and 25, and all of these different milestone years. And then I feel like a lot of people are like, oh, my 30th birthday. But I'm like, so excited. This is a new year. I'm ready to go, and I'm very happy with where my life is at this point. I think for the first time ever, I'm really diving into developing my passion and my craft, and 110-50% am just doing me for fun. So very excited about everything that this holds. Let's get back to the sock pattern. Here it is. So this is for the April, again, Grocery Girl socks. And I'm almost done. But the pattern, I'm writing it. My mom is going to test knit it for me, which is a lot of fun. And then I am going to hopefully be releasing it in next month for my birthday. And this is it. So this is the sock pattern that I'm writing, I would guess. The yarn was gifted to me by my Fibershare partner a few years ago, and I've actually knit this into a pair of socks already, and I didn't like how the yarn dyeing was showing through that pattern, and I actually completely frogged it, and then I came up with this one. So I thought that this would be a really cute pattern, way to show it off. I love cables. I think cables are my favoriteest things on the face of this earth in knitting. So this little tiny cable that just runs down, and when it's on your foot, the cable actually comes out kind of right where your ring toe would be. So this is this one, and then this is the second one. I'm almost done. I have one more cable repeat to do, and then I'm going to close the toe. And it's kind of funny because on here, I don't know if you can see it, but there's a spiral stripe that's happening. So it doesn't really, show that well. But yeah, so these are my socks. I could not be more happy with how they've turned out. And I realized that there's a lot of things that I do, like I don't use a pattern when I make my vanilla socks. So to me, this is just a vanilla sock with a twist. But cute. So there's different things that I've noticed when trying to write a pattern. Because I don't follow a pattern when I knit my vanilla socks, like it's all in here. But that being said, there's a lot of things that I think I do subconsciously that I don't think about when I'm writing it down. Like turning a heel. So how many stitches, how to determine how many stitches to close and how many stitches to pick up here, and all of those things that I just do. And most of the times I wing it. But when you're trying to write a pattern so that other people can follow, you can't quite wing it. So luckily my mom is going, like I said, she's going to test knit it for me, and I'm probably going to open it up to a little knitting group that I also have to see if any of them want to try it out as well. And I don't think I'm going to charge for the pattern. If I do, it might just be $1. I don't feel like I'm kind of that advanced that I should be asking for money. But yeah, I love it. And I've been knitting, I'd say probably when I first started knitting, I would do all of my heels. I would always do an afterthought or like a cut in or different things like that. But it just doesn't fit on my foot that great. And I wear out my heels very quickly. So I really wanted to have something that was very hard wearing. And so I've gone back to knitting a heel and gusset, and I've been doing that pretty much for all of my sock patterns lately. Though I am looking for a toe up heel and gusset pattern. So if you have any, if you know any, please let me know, because that would save my life. I can't wait to share these with you guys, and I'll post the photo will be available on my Ravelry account. My username on Ravelry is Ali Vatcher, though I'll put a shameless plug in Instagram and this when I get done. Whoops. So that's sock talk, if I want to say it, and that's all of the finished objects that I have for this week. I'm sure there's more of them that I'm just not really thinking about. Like I knit my dad a pair of mitts for Christmas and different things, but again, I've knit them and gifted them immediately after, so I don't have them here for me. Let's talk a little bit about what I have on my needles right now. So obviously my first socks, or my first sock pattern, those are on the needles, but I also am knitting the Orafi shawl pattern. So
hey, it's me. Just had to butt in here for one little moment because throughout this entire podcast, I called this the Orafi shawl. It's actually called the Shindig shawl. Orafi is a sweater pattern that I've had the yarn for sitting in my closet for almost a year now, and I haven't been able to knit, but I think my subconscious is telling me that I need to cast that on immediately. So guys, not the Orafi shawl, it's the Shindig shawl. I'll post everything down below.
This was the shawl pattern that was in the anniversary birthday edition of Pom Pom magazine. And I fell in love with this for a few different reasons. Mainly the mixture of the stripes with the lace pattern and just how long it was, and that it was still a rectangle shawl with a little bit of a curve to it due to the lace and the shaping, and it looked beautiful in the magazine. And I ordered about 6 bunches of yarn for it, and none of them matched. So it was kind of disappointing. And then I ended up knitting the lace pattern, and the yarn that I had chosen to go with it, I didn't like it anymore. So actually, I believe I did speak about this in my last podcast too. But anyway, so here it is. I am, I don't know, maybe halfway done right now. And it is pretty spectacular. So I don't have a needle long enough, so it's all kind of bunched up. But this is where I'm going. So I'm using the Julie Asselin Lezu DK right now. And this is her broom colorway for the lace. And then this is Joy of Painting. Not the yarn I would have chosen at all. But I think I was just feeling speckles on the day that I cast it on. It's my adorable little Twill and Print stitch marker, the little sheep. It's so cute. So yeah, so I don't think it was the yarn that I would have chosen. There was a lighter gray color that I really wanted to put with it, but because of the variations within the hand dyed, it almost blended in too well. So that was the Echo colorway. But yeah, I think it looks really fun. I think it's going to be a fresh pop of color for spring, if spring ever gets here. And yeah, this lace was really easy to follow along with. I'd say probably once I did the first repeat, the rest of it I could really just pick up kind of on my own. And I like once it gets blocked, you're going to have this little scallop detail here on the edge, which I think is really beautiful, and again adds a lot to the character of the piece. And there's a really genius way. I'm going to show you this way because it's going to be a little bit neater. The edging on this is very, very, very well thought of. I find a lot of times when you do a straight stockinette scarf, the edges will curl a lot, but she has just the subtle little rib stitch here on the edge, and it is a paid pattern, so I'm not going to share too much information, but the ribbing that she has here just keeps everything straight, and gives a nice kind of pattern on the reverse too. See? So I may actually like the speckles on the reverse side more than I do the front side, but I think I always am that way. Yeah. So I've been knitting on this. Unfortunately, like I always want to knit on socks, but right now I'm just so loving knitting with the speckled yarn that it is like all I want to do. So it's so much fun. And the yarn has a lot of blue in it, which I wasn't sure how it was going to look like with the purple here. But because the blue speckles almost always start and stop with some sort of purple coloring, they melt, I find, in so well that the blue is just kind of like a little pop of color here and there. And you also get little pops of pink and green and some orange. And it's, to me, this spring... So I'm being notified that the storage on my iPad is now full. So I've recently deleted about half of my photo archives. So we will make this quick. I only have really 2 other things that I really want to be talking about. So this is this beautiful shawl project. I absolutely adore this, but I've kind of the same thing as the Cirrus pullover. I absolutely hate stockinette stitch when you are knitting back and forth on a girder stitch, or when you're doing stockinette on a circular. I am a whiz. Purling, not my strong suit. So there's something with the purl stitch that takes me probably about 10 times longer to do than it actually should. So I have to be in the mood, I would say, to knit this, because if not, I am very slow and my tension gets sloppy and it's not that fun. But yeah, so I cannot wait to start wearing this. I think it's going to look absolutely adorable. And it's really going to fit, I think, in with my spring wardrobe very well. Yay! Love it! The other thing, I was going to say, my socks that I'm knitting are living in my Mrs. Brown's bags, which I feel so excited and happy to. So isn't this awesome? This was one of her scrappy sock sets, which I adore. I absolutely love this thing. It's so much fun. You can fit, like, I know it says a sock sack, but you could probably fit 2 skeins, even a hat maybe in here. Yeah, it's just great. And so if you don't know Jody, Jody Brown is also one of the grocery girls, and she has an Etsy page where she sells her bags, and they fly out of the shop. Like, a lot of people have been cart nabbed when you go and try and buy her stuff. So the fact that I got one of these, I think it's pretty lucky. I have a lot of stash to show you guys. Like, a lot of stash to show you guys. And we're going to do that. So I stopped the video for like a quarter of a second, and I completely forgot to mention that I'm participating in the Make 9 Cal for 2018. And all of the projects that you saw today are obviously a part of that. Again, I need to be able to do this better, but I feel like the Make 9 Cal is hosted by Boylan Knits. Maybe not. Again, take the information. But, so it's basically make 9 things in 2018, which seems easy, I would say, because feel like I'm very dedicated to the projects that I have. And in a future podcast, I'm going to talk about it's pretty much, I think, just going to be dedicated to the other things that I am committing myself to casting on this year. But you have to have, I think, at least 1 shawl one sweater and one accessory, I believe. So it can't just be 9 pairs of socks. Though I feel like with my commitment to knit a pair of socks a month, and I already have one sweater finished. I have another one that's in the planning phases. I have my Arefi shawl that's almost finished as well. And I have another shawl that's also in the planning phases. There's a hat that I want to show you. So there's a lot of things that I'm really stoked and so excited for that are coming up. There's so many beautiful, beautiful patterns that are being released. I also have another podcast that I want to talk about that on. That's all kind of dedicated to the pattern envy that I have right now, which is probably a section that I'm going to have reoccurring. So it's exciting, and there are a lot of new things coming up. I believe I have like stacks of sweaters that I want to find and want to find the yarn for, because they are incredible. So right now I'm going to talk to you a little bit of the Treat Yourself and my my mail day acquisitions that I've been acquiring. If you don't follow me on Instagram, my Instagram is vatyourknit, same as the podcast. And I hop on there with all of my spur of the moment, really exciting things that are happening in my life. Sometimes I can get a little bit wordy, but anyway. So I spoke about this yarn on my Instagram stories. And this is by Knitting It Up, which is my friend Annie in Montreal. And this yarn is incredible. I can't even begin to tell you how dreamy this is. So this is on her Monkland base, and this was a limited edition colorway for the crown, and it says, "Are you my queen or are you my wife? Are you my wife or my queen?" Which was a line from the show. I love the show, The Crown. I think I've watched all of the episodes at least twice. I binge watch it religiously, but this yarn, I think, is so well paired with that show. So you have these beautiful purple speckles, the kind of like gray. There's some bright blue in there as well. Like, look at this. This is just going to, I feel like, dye. It's going to knit up so spectacular. Annie, like, look at that. Just like speckle cluster right there. Anyway. Annie is incredible. She's such a sweet person, and I messaged her the other day just to kind of give her a huge heads up, a huge thumbs up for everything that she's doing. She has taken her business, and it's really, really, really exploded, and I love supporting her. She does a TV themed, like surprise club every month. And our TV watching habits are very similar to one another, so I enjoy being able to get a skein like this of a show that I really watch religiously, and to have it match up so perfectly. So I don't know what I'm going to do with this. I feel like it would be great if it were a shawl. So maybe that's what I'll make it out of. I feel kind of bad when I use all of these beautiful speckled yarns as just socks. So, though this would make a pretty awesome pair of socks as well. We'll see. That's also a horrible skein twist. So I'm still living in Harrington Harbor, and all of my yarn is still in Montreal. So I have boxes and boxes of yarn in Montreal. Just there. Some of it's still on display, gathering dust, which kind of pains my heart because I'm here and I want to cast it on all these projects, but I don't have the yarn. So I have done a little bit of acquisitions, though unfortunately the yarn market here isn't the same as the yarn market in Montreal. So a lot of the stuff that you're finding is kind of more on the acrylic side of things, which I don't like to knit with. I like to knit with natural materials, though I have been able to, I'm just going to scooch it over. I have been able to find some natural yarns, and just see, I have. Okay, I'm not joking, guys. I have a box, and this is like the biggest Canada Post box that you can have. Oh yeah. So let's keep with knitting it up. This is something that, seriously, look at this. Can we just get over how bright and brilliant and beautiful this blue is right here? This is her Rory colorway, and I have it on her Madison base, which is a DK weight yarn. So this is going to end up being socks. In where I come from, socks are anything that is shaped like a sock. So I say socks, though it's not going to be a shoe sock, obviously, because it's with DK. Though I'll probably maybe try a cable with these, just to kind of jazz up the yarn. It's, again, Annie, love it. The next thing, and I'm sure a lot, keeping with the Gilmore Girls thing, let's just do it. If this shouldn't be a surprise for many because this came out at Christmas, but this is Woolberry Fiber Co.'s sock set. It's Magical, which was the Gilmore Girl surprise Christmas. I think it was called It Smells Like Snow. I kind of struggled to see how this was Gilmore Girl themed. To me, if it didn't quite scream Christmas or snow, but okay. So this comes with this mini. I think I want a huge, I wish they were reversed, to be honest. I wish I had a full size of this one and a mini of this one. But it's the first time I've ever ordered from Bethany of Woolberry Fiber Co. And I have to say, this yarn is, I wish you could feel this. It is spectacular. And it feels like such high quality. I don't think I'm going to knit socks with this. As soon as I saw it come out of the wrapper, I was like, this is a shawl. This is a picot bind off. Can you see it? So a very like straight, maybe just a triangle bandana shawl, but having this as a picot bind off just along the edge, I think would be amazing. So that's what I'm going to make with this. This yarn, again, my lighting is pulky, but it has these beautiful kind of like coffee colored speckles. There's some blue in here. Okay. Right. And then this is perfection. Absolutely perfection. There's like this kind of vintagey green and pink speckles here with some of the original color that matches this. So this is another, probably going to be a Christmas cast on next year. Love it. Love it, love it, love it. And I don't mean to sound bad as if I can't see where the Gilmore Girls relation is. Obviously, it's a very, like, it is a Christmas cast on. This is kind of coffee themed, which works a lot to the Gilmore Girls. Though the inspiration photo was very blue, so I'm not sure. I don't mean to talk shade at all. Keeping with the Christmas themes, obviously I haven't done this in a while, but this was probably one of the biggest surprises I have had yet. But this was my first ever purchase from a homespun house, and I honestly went speechless. Like, this is Christmas at Hogwarts, and I don't think I'm ever going to be able to knit with this. This is like, anyway, speechless. This cost probably about $56 Canadian, which might be another reason why I don't know if I'm going to be able to bring myself to knit with it. But I am a huge follower of the Homespun House podcast, and I recently found out that she's going to be moving back to the States, which is like a birthday present for me because I may actually be able to afford her yarn at that point. I'm still like speechless. It's beautiful. Beautiful, beautiful, beautiful. The pink and green that's through here. There's some dark greens. And again, that purple, the colors that I love so much from this skein are in here. It's like, and then to squeeze it and sip it, there's gold stellina. I don't know if you can see a little bit of a sparkle. Oh, that lighting, you're just killing me. Anyway, this is, I don't think I would wear a sweater of it, but I want a sweater's worth of this. You know what I mean? So, best purchase of 2017 right here. So I've bought a ton of worsted weight yarn. Worsted? We always call it worsted, like worsted socks. Were socks made out of worsted wool, but I guess the accent or whatever. So worsted weight yarn. And I have bought, so I have this gorgeous red colorway here, this gray, and a pink. So I'm not going to put these together, obviously, but this is Briggs & Little Tufty, and I have Briggs & Little Heritage. This is a very like classic Newfoundland yarn. So you find a lot of it here. It is very, very, very cost efficient. So it's $4.60 for a skein of 100%. I believe this is still 100%. Okay, so the Tufty is 80% pure wool, 20% nylon. So this is going to be socks. And then I also have the Heritage, which is 100% real wool. And this is going to be all socks. And I'm looking to write another pattern for a cable knit worsted sock. And this is all the workhorse yarn that it's going to be made out of. Hey, sorry folks, small interruption. So the Tufty yarn, Briggs & Little, it is absolutely amazing. I've knit many socks over the years, and what I really like to do is I'll make kind of a more like worsted, baggier sock pattern with that, but then I wear one of my shoe socks on the inside, and it is probably the warmest thing you could ever put on your feet. I like to wear them in rubber boots, and it's kind of like a nice duffel felt, because you have 2 layers of wool, one that is a very stiff yarn that keeps in a lot of the heat, and then another one that's more softer and cozier on your foot. I have these 2 yarns, which are the Barocco Ultra Alpaca. For a alpaca wool yarn, the Barocco line is so cost efficient. I had originally bought this also for a pair of worsted socks, though I am not entirely sure if that is what they will be. I think they would also make lovely mittens. Again, I love this color. It's not a skin tone color, so I wouldn't wear it anything that's close to my face, but I think for a pair of lovely, maybe some mittens with maybe a light lace pattern, or even some of those beautiful color work patterns that I've seen pop up all over the place. I think this would be really fun with it. In the last podcast, one of the patterns that I had kind of dreamt of future knitting was this one by Joji Locatelli. And it's a C-shaped shawl. Say that 3 times fast. And that has this beautiful kind of like lace color work with, again, that picot bind off that I absolutely adore. So I was thinking of knitting this in these colors. I had picked up this yarn at La Maison Tricotée in Montreal, and it's a MCN merino cashmere nylon. And it has this really pretty like pink, purple, blue with some silver variegated. This is the softest, squishiest yarn. So I think a beautiful garter stitch shawl like this one would really show it off very well. And I have it paired with these 2 by Artful Belle. So this one is white with a very warm gray variegatedness to it. And then this navy blue, which has, I don't know if it's going to pick up in the light, but there's also some kind of pinks and purple speckles that move through this as well. And I think when putting them all side by side, they kind of work very well together. wouldn't say that they fade into one another. Let's get that blue in there as well. But they flow very, very nicely into one another. So, ironically enough, they look very similar to what she's made hers out of. So I think that this is going to be a future project. I've never made a C-shaped shawl before. So I have maybe some worries or hesitations about it, but it is garter stitch. And after doing the Arafi, which is in stockinette, I feel like a garter stitch shawl is kind of deserved at this point. So this is another kind of future planning and a little stash acquisition that I purchased for that project. The last thing I have to show is mountains of sock yarn. And these sock yarns are actually probably going to end up being socks. So I have spoken quite a bit about the Patons Croy sock yarn. And these are some of the acquisition colors that I picked up. This is, again, it's super cheap. It's like $6 a ball. But it makes really, really, really durable socks. I wouldn't say they're the softest to your skin socks, but if you want kind of like a really workhorse yarn for the inside of rubber boots, and these are going to be it. So this is a Singin' the Blues Stripes color, and I saw this knit up as mittens a while ago, and the person had called them her Ravenclaw mittens, which is a little like ode to Harry Potter, which I thought was really adorable. And ever since I saw that, I had been dying for this yarn. So I have this one for a future sock pattern. This one here, which is this grays with a little kind of like a green brown stripe and this beautiful red. So I can't wait to see how that knits up as well. There's this one, whoops, which I thought was very fun. So it's pinks and purples with a little like black and white, or maybe that's navy. Yeah, so that's a little navy speckle that's going to go through there. And I have a feeling that this is going to knit up quite a bit similar to this yarn. So that's those two together. There's this one as well, which is one of their marled colors. Let me see. Cameo colors. So that's a beautiful, I don't know what it's called, but plied. So yeah, so it's a plied yarn, but it's a 3-ply yarn, and each ply is a different color. So I think it leaves this very nice, it looks a little bit solid when it's picking up in the camera, but it's actually, there's about 6 or 7 different colors in there. So there, and then this one, which I kind of wish I had made Easter socks out of this. So maybe I'll keep this one and I'll do it for another, but sweet stripes. And look how awesome, springy, kind of Easter lovely that is. So yeah, if you see the Patons yarn, I would definitely recommend it. Again, it's super inexpensive and it is absolutely lovely. One thing that I would say when you're using sock yarn like this, even though you may still have the same dyelet, it does not guarantee that the 2 balls are the same. When I knit the pair of socks...
Hey, so this is totally different lighting and this image looks absolutely crap, but I had to change because my iPad is completely full. It won't let me do anything even after I've deleted almost the majority of my content. So I was saying that when you are knitting from this yarn, one thing that even though you get the same dyelet, you get the same everything, you have to be careful because these balls 99% of the time are not wound the same. I've had one that was wound backwards. I've had another one that started midway through the repeat as opposed to the other one. So you still have to kind of play around a little bit. One thing I would recommend if you do want to get the most use out of this yarn, when you get both of your balls, let me just start on these ones, pull out the center to find out where or on the ends. So right now, same dyelet, this ball starts with green, this one starts with purple. So I would choose where I would like my sock to begin. And if I want to start on a purple one, I would frog all of this until I started at the beginning of the purple, or I would even take out both colors. So let's do this. Da, 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 da. So purple, and then it goes to white right there. So let's see this one. So I have green, and then see, so I had this much green, then I got to the purple, then I'll get to the white. So what I would do is I would cut both of this yarn, cut the purple off, start at the white so that I know that both of my socks are going to be exactly the same. And then you know that you're starting off from the exact same point of the exact same of the ball. And you hope that the rest of it is going to be all right. So this is going to be the end of the podcast, partly because I don't really have anything else to say, mainly because I have no space left. So thanks for joining, and as always, give this video a thumbs up if you cared at all what I had to say, and subscribe if you want to find out more. I have a few other podcasts that I want to put together kind of more specifically. So one, what's in my tool bag. Another one are some fall favorites, winter favorites that I had since the last time we had spoken together. I've also been doing a little bit of work behind the sewing machine, so I have some projects that I want to show to you guys, and possibly a potential Etsy update. I was an Etsy seller a few years ago, but I let my shop kind of go by the wayside, and one of the things that I'd really like to do in the next few months is get that back up and running. So thanks for joining. Happy knitting, everybody.
Next stash Woo!